All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 43. The invasion has begun. We have the Empire having their fleet basically
move out.
But yes, they have also delegated. Reinhardt has delegated his commanders, his admirals, his vice admirals, everyone to specific positions, and now the game is on. We have Yang and his fledgling little fleet at Iserlon about to come under the assault of Ruental and Lutz and Schoenkopf's fleets.
Right. And
that's the small force.
Right, because this will be a requiem for the Alliance. There's forces on the other side, unknown. But there's a lot. There's an awful lot.
Yeah, whether the Empire wins or not, this is basically signifying in a lot of ways the end for the Alliance.
Indeed,
because
Ragnarok.
In a lot of ways, it is Ragnarok then. I am very, very excited for this invasion compared to the Alliance's invasion.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not actually really concerned about who's going to win or lose here, as much as I am excited about the idea of the galactic miles that are separating Yang and Reinhardt. They're getting smaller.
Indeed. Yep.
I'm dying over here in anticipation for these two to have that moment on the bridge of some random ship to discuss, terms of surrender, retreat, peace, whatever. Just all of it.
Even if it's just staring earnestly towards each other across a battlefield and open space.
Yes.
But Julian is in Fezzan, and he's being a real good boy. He's doing great. Turning some heads, Just a little bit. In some good and bad ways.
Kesserling.
Right. And Kesserling has his own ambitions and stuff that he's starting to embark upon. I'm not sure how that's going to go.
Right.
But that is also happening in parallel with this invasion. So, okay. All right. So, are your little seeds of subterfuge going to make their way into the roots of the Fezzan hierarchy? Yes.
Yeah.
We shall see. We shall see.
So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right, y'all, that's some good stuff right there.
We got the opening act of this stage drama.
And Ruental had a near shave there.
Yes.
Very, very close shave with death. And that was a razor blade. Like, he cut off a bit of his hair. Like Schoenkopf came in, not to capture him.
Wait a minute. I just realized.
What?
That was the battle of the two playboys of the galaxy.
It was. You're right. Yeah.
And notice, Poplin, that you weren't anywhere nearby.
You were elsewhere having a conversation while you shoved meat into your mouth,
Yep.
But,
But it was I loved how the battle went, because Ruental versus Yang, that's something I've always wanted to see.
Yep.
And I love that they both had surprises for the other person, right?
Yeah.
It didn't go straightforward. They all had clever tactics and stuff that they used.
Right.
Some were effective, some weren't.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the time it can be easy, especially with someone like Yang, because he's so good at strategy and tactics and everything.
Right.
To just be like, oh, well, he never will make mistakes, right? And everyone else just sort of, their plans don't work.
Right.
No. They're competent.
Yeah.
Ruental's plan started to work. But, it wasn't enough for victory.
Yeah, we had been shown in previous episodes, and this is one of the things that I really think needs to be applauded here within regards to the tactics here, is that we had been shown in previous episodes that if multiple fleets come into the same firing area of Thor's hammer, it then becomes tactically unsound to fire the weapon in that area.
Right.
So when Yang sorted out the fleet to deal with the approach of Ruental's fleet, they're like, that's it. Now full speed ahead into their fleet. By the time they're able then to respond, the
can't
vectors
fire the
won't
hammer.
work.
Yeah.
They'll be hitting their own fleet to fire the hammer.
Right, and they have more forces than you do. So even if you did want to make that sort of morally questionable decision,
Right.
it wouldn't even work out.
Yeah, even if it was tactically sound in terms of the fact that it's like, well, we can angle the gun to do enough damage, and we'll time basically some movements with their fleet to like
Right.
everyone hard left.
Yeah, get
and now
away
we
from those
fire
fast
the
as possible.
gun, and we maybe we destroy like 50 of our ships, but we destroy 500 of theirs or something. It still becomes a thing of where in a battle of attrition, the Empire wins either way because of the numbers advantage.
Right.
And this is what it came down to, was Ruental was initially thinking, this won't be a battle of attrition. I'll be able to take the tempo, be proactive, and then Yang's like, oh, what's a dumb trick? Oh, what I did in the beginning of the of the whole show with the movies and everything, go straight for their main flagship and hold it hostage until they decide to back up.
And I love that Schoenkopf is like, hey,
Hey,
like,
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Like,
It'll be
I'll
great.
do it. I kill Imperial. It's like, man, you know, I'm good at doing it too.
Yeah. And
I love the idea of Yang basically doing the same thing that Reinhardt did and just delegating a task and be like, you go do your thing.
Right.
And he's like, all right, I got this.
That's right. Yeah.
It makes it feel like an ensemble cast that's actually all, important that they're there.
Right, because even if it is sort of a chess game, if you will,
right,
it's not just one person moving the pieces and whatnot. They are moving the pieces, but that's it. And then the piece decides to, all right, yeah, I'm going to be the best knight or whatever, that I can be.
Yeah.
And the fact that Schoenkopf didn't actually succeed in taking out Ruental, I like how it happened, because you pointed out something that we saw Ruental and Mittermeier earlier during the rebellion actually displaying their competence in hand-to-hand martial stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah, that's a good point, right? So even though, like, because with all the buildup that they're doing around Ruental of, like, when is he going to turn on Reinhardt, I don't want him to die here, right?
No,
so then that was making me
not.
think, is Schoenkopf going to die? But how is that going to happen? Because he's a badass, right? You know? And then it's like, oh, no.
Yeah, almost everything tactically led towards Ruental eventually losing. He had no armor. He had like almost no time to prep anything. Like he basically just had the ability to get off one quick shot, and even then, all that did was disarm Schoenkopf.
Right,
and then Schoenkopf's like, "Oh, okay, fine. I'll knock away your weapon.
Right,
we'll bring this into hand to hand." And we're thinking like, okay, yeah, maybe he's got an advantage. He's like, "Nope, I'm pulling out a freaking badass military knife." And we're like, well, here we go.
Like, he took off some of Ruental's hair.
Yeah, like, he came this close to killing him.
Yep, and I love... Oh, go for it.
I was just going to say, probably the same thing you're going to say. Just, I love how later in the... like, oh, man.
I engaged in the farce of,
Oh, that was what Ruental said.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about how Schoenkopf later was like, oh, man, and to think I was this close to just ending
this whole thing. Yeah. Darn. Like, yeah. Because it's, on the one hand, it's like, self-deprecating of, I didn't manage to actually kill him. That would have been awesome. But it's also sort of stroking his own ego of, I was this close, my dudes, to solving this whole problem myself.
Yeah.
I would have gotten so much from that. Like, been laid so many times,
Like, hey, ladies, you heard of the biggest, the galaxy's biggest playboy? High Admiral Ruental?
Man to man.
Stuck my blade in that guy.
Yep.
And he didn't get back up.
That's right. One of the twin stars of the Empire.
Yeah.
Took him out. No big deal.
Snuffed it. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But and they're like, oh my. And he's like, you want to see my bloody, bruised armor? He's like, look at it. It says about 27 Imperials on it.
Right.
That's the thing that's freaking me out, though, is every once in a while they show the melee combat, and it shows the age of the show in that they have very simple animation with regards to what they are able to do, but they very quickly show how much of a bloody mess it gets into, because, the vibro weapons, I'm guessing, they're having, which is kind of a thing in Star Wars as well, and this is very much inspired by Star Wars in a lot of ways.
Right.
Are the no, who cares about armor or anything like that? These are literally there to be regular people don't have lightsabers. Okay, we'll just use these. These are second rate.
And one of the things that I love about it is that, so with the armor and how it was set up, there were a few, because, let's say I have some experience riding around armor, battle lines, but, if you have it in a sci-fi setting, because armor stopped being used traditionally, right? Because it wasn't effective. Weapons surpassed it. So why do you have armor in a sci-fi setting? Right. And I love here that it's no. The armor protects us from the ranged weapons. And then the fact that we have axes, like why axes and not like swords or something?
To have enough heft and weight.
Have enough heft to it so we can actually get through the enemy armor, right? And it's like, there you go.
One hit. Right. None of this like, I stabbed them, but they're still, fine. No, it's I'm going to cleave them down from their clavicle to their belly button.
Right, exactly.
They're dead.
I'm taking them down, right?
Yeah.
And the idea that the guns were still effective, potentially, if they were able to get in between the armor plates, but that was very hard to do. Right. So it's not that the guns are completely useless, so it still explains why the soldiers were trying to use them, which then led to their deaths because they weren't able to switch fast enough to the axe part, which I love that it was both gun and axe like that. Yeah. But that's something where it's like we can see why the technology went the ways that it did, right? Yeah. So I love it.
Yeah. The fleet battle has led to this whole thing being a very, very overt, at least from our omniscient perspective, stage drama, and the way they describe it as such is really awesome. But I love how they're making sure to show us that the Alliance is getting the fake leaked information from Fezzan based on the fact that Fezzan, is, in league with the Empire at this point here, which is the doomsday scenario that the Alliance has, never wanted to face the possibility of it happening,
right?
Because they're so in bed with each other, Fezzan and the Alliance. So the trick that Julian brought up with the idea of that Fezzan could still do it because a lot of their interests aren't necessarily
in the political structure.
Which, wait, actually,
no, that was
someone else.
That was Bucock.
That was Bucock who's
and then he was like,
up.
unless. Are there financial interests in the political structure?
Yeah. But I think Julian's point of basically being Julian was talking about with it if the Empire took advantage
Who's to
of
say
that
they
whole
can't?
thing.
Yeah.
So there is that. But that does give Julian more time.
Yes.
What that means, though, is that, again, I think I was just wrong at the idea of how this was being timed here. So Julian will be in Fezzan for a while before the Empire's big fleet, or fleets, plural, actually get through the Fezzan corridor. But what they could do is they could make us end up being a little bit unaware of how much time is passing. Because of the siege, it's going to feel really slow.
Sure.
But everywhere else, they could end up having a thing where, over here now, we're advancing the story further in time than it is at the siege. Meaning that we could show a lot of things going on with Julian that take place over the course of a week. And it's like, at that point, the siege is just,
It's happening.
It's happening, but we don't know what stage it is. And then they could have, I don't know. Do you feel like Legend of the Galactic Heroes is going to do that? Because by having both corridors, they could have one move linearly at a faster clip, and then they go back and catch up the other one up to speed.
Right. Well, on certain...
Right.
For certain ones, it makes a lot more sense for it to go that way than with others. With the fact that, now the fleet's moved out. There's still going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be happening at the Iserlon corridor as the stage drama continues, unless they're just saying that Ruental pulls back and he's not going to attack again until the fleet's there, and then he's going to...
wait for Yang to move in response.
Either wait for Yang to move in response or wait for the fleets to be well on their way so that way when he attacks again, this time it's in sync with the fleet going through Fezzan. I'm not sure.
And he just keeps whittling down turrets in the meantime.
Right. But because of how big the galaxy is, and because, I love that there's so much time is being spent just on the build-up to the fleet movements and everything, and all the stuff actually happening in full, the ships arriving and stuff.
It reinforces the scale.
It reinforces the scale, and that is a perfect time to do that kind of, non-linear storytelling, or non-parallel storytelling, I guess.
Well, right. I get what you're saying, because while, this show has one that has not shied away from things like backstories. One of the things that's weird about using something like in media res is that if you're going to be focused on the same area, basically, the same backdrop or set piece, if you will, for where the story is going on, and then go back in time after showing where you are ahead, I feel like you can lose a little bit of the dramatic weight. So if anything, it would be interesting to see that Reinhardt has everything mobilized so well that they actually make an insane pace through Fezzan, even though it takes a long period of time. So where it's a thing of where, if anything, we might just time skip a little bit with Yang.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
Instead of using any kind of like, let's catch Yang and Ruental up to speed, let's have them be locked in this weird kind of back and forth where we get to see maybe one or two key kind of strategic or tactical decisions that they make in that time frame. But Reinhardt is like, no, we are going through Fezzan space. And also, one of the things that I feel like it would be kind of cool to have in tandem with this is if Reinhardt is moving at a clip pace through Fezzan space, we need to see how Fezzan, like the people, just the average, citizen or
responds to that.
Yeah, all them like being like, whoa, suddenly tens of thousands of ships just entering our trade routes. What is happening?
Are we under attack?
Are we under attack?
How much like this very much feels sort of like a bigger scale version of like Bespin in Empire Strikes Back, where it's it could be the pray I do not change the deal any further, kind of a thing, right? And
it
it's
really
like,
could be.
Well,
this deal keeps getting worse all the time.
Right, exactly. And whether or not that ends up happening, the fear of that potentially happening is still there. Because even if it's something where, okay, they gave us their word that we've done all this planning so that it should be fine. Well, they're still camping these fleets near us.
Oh my God.
Oh
my God.
What?
It makes so much sense.
What? What are you thinking?
Kesserling is not the leader of Fezzan. If Fezzan gets upset with their leaders,
then Kesserling
doesn't even need to do anything necessarily. He can just be like, hey guys, I'll start politicking. I'll give you all a potential better opportunity here.
Oh my God, I found out that apparently Fezzan sold us out, like the current leaders or whatever. Yeah.
He doesn't even need to do any assassination or anything like that, although he probably will.
At that point, it's more of a political character assassination kind of a thing, vote of no confidence, you can't trust them anymore.
Right, right.
If only you had someone better like me.
And if he does have someone in the Church of Terra, he will at the very least have the potential to swing. I don't know how strong he would be able to do this, but he might be able to even swing them and their little cult to inciting maybe some...
Potentially.
Some kind of violence or something towards Rubinsky. Although the fact that Rubinsky and Kesserling are kind of, involved in this together in that regard, behind closed doors and everything, they're very much aware of what is going on here. I could see this more of a thing of where Kesserling doesn't need to win outright because of this. This is just another thing to add. This is basically him taking a couple pawns.
Sure.
This is where he's taking a value trade early on in the chess game, and he's like, I don't need to win here, but now I'm up 2 pawns. This is gonna mean something a lot later. When I start advancing towards his king side position or something.
Well, one of the things that I was kind of thinking about with this is like, okay, what would be the ways that this could go really wrong, right?
For who?
For the Empire, right?
Oh, for the Empire.
The way it could go wrong for the Alliance is already kind of spelled out, right?
Yeah.
But if Fezzan gets complicated, that whole situation there, and this is something that I don't think ever would happen for character reasons, but if Reinhardt's position as leader got
jeopardized.
Either from the secret police stuff or from Ruental wanting to make a move. But Ruental wouldn't want to make a move because
he's on the other side of the galaxy.
Well, I'm on the other side of the galaxy, but also, I want the Empire to do well because then that means it's a bigger empire that I take over from you, right? And with Kesserling, he wants Fezzan to do well because then that's a bigger Fezzan that he takes over from Rubinsky,
Right. And again, both of those things are just good steps in the direction to where if their late game moves are where they're really banking on making a power swing, then yeah, they don't need to do much here because all this still leads towards a more helpful situation for them.
This is all part of the drama.
Right, exactly. Let's say Reinhardt gets all the way to Heinesen and he's staring down a fleet of 50,000 Alliance ships or something.
He's like,
and he's like, all right, well,
that's cute.
We outnumber them 5-1. Or actually, the Alliance fleets, like the ones that they've probably got at Heinesen, they could number actually quite a few. I don't think it's a number issue for the Alliance. I think it's a tactical competence issue.
I think it's going to be both.
Oh, well, right. But I'm not talking about like a 5-1 difference.
Yeah.
Right, I'm talking like a 2-1, thing where the Alliance is like, oh, no. We have a big fleet.
Because it does seem
and
like
we feel really confident, even with Iserlon, being kind of the main forward base and stuff, where they're like, how many ships would we need to stop Yang from coming over and taking over? We need 10-1. We need to outnumber him 10-1.
Well, he said 6-1.
Okay, then we'll do 8-1. That's a nice balance there.
Yeah, because they definitely wouldn't give Yang any more than absolutely necessary. But
right, because you don't need that much really to defend Iserlon.
Right.
Let's be real.
But the fact that we don't know how many ships Reinhardt is attacking with,
or how much the Alliance is defending with,
makes me think that that's going to become really relevant. Because Reinhardt has holed up, I'm guessing, about a third of the ships that he's fielding, just in the management positions of Ruental being the distraction, keeping people home in case Ruental gets any crazy ideas.
Bittenfeld and Fahrenheit hiding out in the background.
Well, that's a setting up for a prime execution, but just also keeping the Fezzan corridor open, on both sides. It's like, okay, that also needs to happen. So there's fleets there, like how much is Reinhardt actually going to be attacking with? I hope it's an ungodlike amount.
So
I think
there's Mittermeier's fleet. Mm-hmm. There's Mueller's fleet.
Right,
and then there's Reinhardt's super fleet,
which is like 6 fleets all rolled into one.
And then there's Steinmetz's fleet.
Right.
So at the very least, it is an exceeding abundance more than what Ruental is working with. We're just gonna have to wait and see in that regard.
Also, there was something that was brought up this episode that felt very pointed, like pointed in I don't see how it applies directly, which makes me worried, which was Mariendorf. She was talking about how, maybe I should do another visit to her cousin or whoever, who had that really ominous bit where it was saying they were going to cause, untold calamity or something similar to those lines.
They would have basically some kind of repercussions to their actions that would be felt by many.
Right. And her saying that, I'm like, okay, is this the time where that happens? Because he does seem like someone who could potentially be unstable, but he also doesn't seem like someone that's in a position to really do anything.
Mecklinger is in the rear line management.
That is true.
So, okay, I want to see what that does end up being, because what I could see happening, and it could be kind of interesting to see, is that on some level, Fezzan, this is, I'd say, the most damage Fezzan could do that would be completely unexpected, is they start doing subterfuge on Odin. They start basically causing chaos there.
All right.
And basically it becomes the thing of where, our glorious leader has extended too far. So now he has too much that he's monitoring. It's kind of when you play Risk, and you take too many countries, and then you have only one
guy on each.
One guy on each on the way that you went there. He's not doing that. He's leaving 3 here, 3 here,
right,
4
getting
here,
all the
5
choke
here.
points and
right. But if he extends so far out that his fleet then becomes actually too small, he's actually not working with enough,
right?
And it becomes a thing of chaos is all back there, and he's like, but I delegated them to handle it. Do I then trust them to be able to handle it? That could be a problem.
Well, thankfully Kessler is back there, which, although he has started to notice things about Reinhardt's way of, running this new empire of his, Kessler is kind of like the super steady Eddie, reliable dude,
Right. That's true.
So hopefully there's no issues there, but yeah.
But Yang's missing Julian a lot and is talking to his cat.
I gotta
Poor
say,
guy.
I think the MVP for this episode isn't actually Schoenkopf or Ruental. As much as, you would think that they would be the MVP.
It's Schoenkopf's giant boner.
No, I think it's actually Admiral.
Oh.
Admiral really was there for Yang when he needed him.
Yeah, and Yang's
really.
like, hey, I'm feeling a lot better now,
Yeah.
And
Even though Admiral wasn't actually listening for a lot of it. Regardless of whether Admiral can understand him.
But y'all, all right, nice and simple build-up episode. So thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
That's right. I wrote a sci-fi novel called Battle Lines. It very much delves into the complications of having armor in a sci-fi setting and things like that. If you want to check it out, it's on Amazon. The link is in the description down below.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.